Covering the various remake mods for Fallout games has basically become a cornerstone of this channel over the past couple of months. Feels like monthly there are major new updates or even new mod projects being debuted, and as you could probably tell by the title and the content of this video, we are yet again looking at another one. As today we have something pretty special. We are completing our deck, as modders are now recreating Fallout 1 in Fallout 4's engine, which means that there are currently ongoing remake mod projects underway for Fallout 1, 2, 3, and Fallout New Vegas in Fallout 4's engine. Now the real question is, who's going to take one for the team and do a remake of Fallout Brother to Steel? Come on, someone's got to do it. In this video, I'll give you an overview and some of the progress already done on the very ambitious Fallout 1 remake, as well as just give you some of the updates or where all of these various mods stand. So looking at some new content, but also a bit of a refresher or even some recent updates with some of these other remake mods. So the Fallout 1 remake mod, which I'll have links to everything I talk about down below, including their Discord, is definitely one of the smallest out of the bunch, the biggest reason being it was only started a few months ago in early 2021, which when you actually take that into consideration and then look at how much they already have done, both in the form of screenshots and gameplay, it is pretty impressive. So from the gameplay on this mod, we could already see quite a bit. The modified start for Fallout 1. In Fallout 1, of course, you start in Vault 13, and that aspect of the game has already been somewhat implemented in Fallout 4's engine. You could find the character exploring around the vault, some familiar NPCs already stationed there, and actually the scaling and size of the vault does feel quite representative and kind of a good 3D rendition of it. Of course, if you look at the Fallout 1 start, things do look wildly different. With these remake mods taking that top-down style and converting them to a full interactable 3D world, they really have to consider the scale of things, a challenge a lot of the other mods don't have to take into consideration. But one of the interesting challenges that comes with this also is Fallout 1 did have a bit of a modified take on the special system, as it was actually the original implementation of special. So your special stats, that of course being your strength, perception, endurance, etc., impact your skill levels in Fallout 1, and this has already been recreated and implemented with this mod. So the higher you set one of your special stats from the beginning, the higher the corresponding skills are going to be. You also can just naturally level up your skills as you play through the game, naturally, how it works in many of these other games, but it'll also have a pretty big impact right off the bat. Combat skills have a much heavier impact in this game. This is another pretty interesting thing to adapt. Of course, in Fallout 1, the combat mechanics were extremely different than the FPS that is Fallout 4, so the combat-based skills in the mod have a much heavier impact on accuracy spread and control of the various weapons, as well as some skills are impacting new actives, like the likelihood of success in doing things like laying a trap or healing yourself, whether it be you or broken limbs. The higher the skill, the higher the likelihood you will succeed when doing those actions, which is quite a mix-up over how it worked in later games. Of course, karma is going to be making a return. We could see what looks like a work-in-progress version of this just listed in the Pip-Boy, but clearly not implemented quite yet. And one of the smaller touches I'm a huge fan of is that redesigned vault suit, so the back of it actually matches the font from Fallout 1. Of course, in later Fallout games, they did take a different approach with the font, but this one is just nostalgic and pretty iconic in its own way. And then from there, we got a much better look at the vault overall, as well as some of the outside world space and the world space work being done in general. It's always pretty crazy, again, to consider this because you are adapting a top-down experience to a fully interactive 3D world. There's a lot of challenges with that. I imagine a decent amount of trial and error in getting it to feel representative of the original product, but also right in exploring in a modern Fallout. I always get excited for these remake mods of Fallout 2 and Fallout 1. A couple of years ago now, we actually looked at a project that was recreating Fallout 1 in Fallout New Vegas with some very interesting and unique design choices that ended up getting abandoned since then, not having gotten an update since 2019, but it was a super interesting experience in its own right, and it looks like today in 2021, this new project is going to be an even more updated version and really our last active mod chance at a full-on Fallout 1 recreation, hopefully bringing for many of you that first opportunity to properly experience Fallout 1, because a lot of people just don't like the top-down nature of the older games, despite their story being pretty interesting and a cornerstone of the Fallout lore. So this mod looks great. Again, if you guys do want to check it out or keep more up to date, I will have their Discord down below, or even if you want to join the project, some of the people working on this have worked on some of the other remake mods in the past, but now that we have looked at the Fallout Fallout 1 Remake Mod, we definitely have to take a look at the Fallout 2 Remake Mod, which, although being quite a bit older than the Fallout 1 Remake Mod, is still one of the younger mods overall as far as these DLC-sized new game experience mods go. This, of course, recreating Fallout 2 with all of its core mechanics making a return, perk, traits, karma, reputation. One of the things they have quite a bit of complete is not only some of these world spaces you're seeing in the background, but also a lot of assets are done for this one. So you can see the recreation of what would otherwise be kind of mundane things, just some objects that occupy the world, but it's really interesting to see the process converting something that is 2D to a full-on 3D interactive object. And I really love how on these they actually show the old version in the images so you can see how representative it is. But even further, they're making some pretty interesting design choices with the Fallout 2 Remake Mod. Fallout 2 has some of the weakest writing of any of the modern Fallout games, this largely being a byproduct of the game almost being rushed or made in a very condensed time frame. So with this, while trying to stay as true as possible to the original game's story and overall feel, they're also adapting it as well as adding some more to it to improve things. So a lot of the game will simply be adapted and recreated, and we could see this already in some of those concept art images or even just in-game shots or videos. But something that happened with Fallout 2 was some of the lore or notes you could find in the world were later discounted as having an unreliable narrator, or that's why it doesn't necessarily line up super well with other lore. So what they're going to be doing is actually updating some of those notes to make them actually accurate. The game features a ton of meta commentary or fourth wall breaking, and they're going to keep that in but put it behind the Wild Wasteland perk. So if you want that more traditional Fallout experience, you could have it, or if you want things that are wackier, you can easily get the Wild Wasteland perk. And also they plan to fill in the world a bit more. The Fallout 2 world space was even more deserted than Fallout New Vegas, so adding lore-friendly but miscellaneous structures, activities, and enemies throughout the world will make it feel a lot more full as you're exploring it in a full-on 3D recreation. But don't fret, because they're not taking massive creative liberties here. They're really trying to stay true to the more established lore of the franchise overall and with this individual game. But then of course we also have to mention what is probably the most active of the remake mods, that with the Fallout 3 Remake Mod. This is one of the oldest DLC-sized projects coming to Fallout 4 in general, and over the past few months they've released a ton of content. One of my favorites being the Capital Wasteland robot pack that adds in several familiar robots that are fully customizable with the Fallout 4 robot customization system, and just a really cool and more unique add-on to the game. They've also shared several teaser shots of some of the various items they've been working on as of late, showing off some of the very familiar and famous now weapons/armors, some even featuring some fancy new effects in Fallout 4's engine, and they've already released a ton of weapons for Fallout 4, so perhaps some new ones are even on the horizon with these currently work in progress ones. And although all of that is great, what is easily the biggest thing being currently worked on and coming from this mod is Point Lookout, as they have, and this is in the current or kind of past tense, already recreated basically all of Point Lookout in Fallout 4's engine. All the various quests, all the various items, and even specific placements. Like if you remember, hey, there was this really cool weapon in a specific spot when I played the original Point Lookout, you could re-find it in this remade version. I had the opportunity to play this about a month ago now. It is simply stunning, a full-on recreated DLC, and right now it's in a bug fixing / voice acting phase, but otherwise is largely feature and content complete. It's really something special. So more so than anything else I talk about in this video, Point Lookout is probably going to be your very first recreated Fallout experience. The first time you get to play one of these remake mods in the modern engine, although it is only the DLC, it still, again, is a pretty amazing experience. But then last but not least, we definitely cannot forget about the fan favorite with Fallout 4 New Vegas. That, of course, being the recreation of everybody's favorite Fallout game, Fallout New Vegas. This is another pretty old one, perhaps one of the oldest ones in this video, but it has also, over those years, released an absolute mountain of content, both mods adding in new and unique features to Fallout 4, weapon mods, the visible holstered weapon mod created by a team member of this project, and of course the functionality being used for this project is quite literally one of my favorite mods of all time, and overall just have a massive library of released content, a lot of which probably occupies some of your favorite mods for Fallout 4 in general. And although they haven't been quite as active over the past 6 months or so with releasing new content, work has still been continuing. You can see new weapons being modeled modeled and implemented into Fallout 4 with that new and updated weapon customization system. These look great. I feel like the weapons of New Vegas are always a strong suit, and getting more of those, potentially as standalone releases in Fallout 4, is basically always something to look forward to. I mean, really, who doesn't want more New Vegas weapons in Fallout 4? I feel like that's just a universal win. And hey, if the devs want a really cool idea, maybe putting all of those weapons into a big singular download weapon pack, hey, that'd be pretty phenomenal. Just lob that one out there in case anyone wants to act on it. But of course, also some world space progress. I feel like the New Vegas world space, or really here, the recreated New Vegas world space, actually really benefits from the Fallout 4 lighting upgrades more so than any of the other world spaces from other games, and their trailers are always worth highlighting. I think this project probably has the best trailers out of any of the various remake mods, and they're always a real showstopper. Just showing all of these various systems working together is pretty unique and crazy. But otherwise, yeah, that's a refresh on some of these new game-sized mods on their way to Fallout 4, including the latest edition with the Fallout 1 remake. There's a lot of great content coming to this game. Bethesda in the past has said they don't have a ton of interest in remakes, so these mod projects may be our only hope to actually get to re-experience these games. Plus, I mean, honestly, when even is the next Fallout game? Might be waiting a while for that in general, let alone a remake. With that said, hopefully you found this informative. Again, I'll have links to everything I talked about down below. But until next time, I hope to see you all later.